Again, I appreciate you being here tonight on 5 o'clock right after the workday. Appreciate you all being here for this holiday wellness masterclass. The goal of this class is really to have you go away with some tangible things to go into the holidays with. So some tips and strategies to go into it guilt-free. Before we dive in, though, I want to just start by saying, who I am. I know both of you guys know who I am, but I just want to preference my name is Sarah again, and I want to just share a little backstory, and then we'll get right into it. So I personally have really changed the way I view health and fitness. For when I first started my fitness journey, I was really focusing on the physical aspect and how many benefits you can receive from that, changing your body, things like that. And now I look at it more holistically with taking care of yourself, self-care, habits, your thoughts with awareness, and that in return gives a huge transformation. So now I help other women that are feeling just a stall in their life, whether it's with pain, just progress, whether that's with weight, or they just feel lost in this fitness and health space. I help them enjoy their journey with a more simple and sustainable approach. So, love what I do, and I love that I can put these on to really expand my education and share it with all of you. So, the agenda for this class is really to start with the mindset. So, really making sure we go into the holidays with a mindset that allows yourself to give yourself grace. That really is the foundation, right? How we're viewing the food, how we're viewing our whole perspective, right, around the holidays can really make or break how it is, right? Can like form our reality. So, that's a really big one. We'll talk about navigating holiday meals, mindful eating, staying consistent with workouts or movement, and then setting realistic goals for yourself. For yourself, that's the key thing. Because a lot of times people know other people are, very strict, and you might not be that way, and that's okay. So again, it's reminding yourself that it's going to be what is going to work well for you. So I'll send over these slides at the end as well, so you guys will have them. But feel free to chat or write things down if you need to. If you attended my masterclass before, my previous ones, I always start with like a little quote, and this is the one I like to start with for this one, and just something to think about, right? A little bit of reflection. And what I want you to remember as we're talking about these things is when you think of the holiday season, right? We have Thanksgiving this week, we have Christmas in a month here. It's important to remember why we're celebrating the holidays, whether you're religious or not. It's more about just those memories, the people that you're with, the environment you're in, instead of kind of focusing a lot on those other things that can cause a lot of stress. So remembering like, okay, who am I around? I'm really like expressing gratitude for that. It's going to help you get out of that stress state of seeing I overate that cookie, and like instead kind of shift that and be like, but I'm with my, grandma, I'm with my mom, or, you know, like that's cheesy, but also like really fulfilling way to look at it, and allows you to feel good about your environment rather than what doesn't make you feel as great. Um, like like I was kind of saying in the beginning, like maybe your cousin or uncle where you don't really get along, rather than focusing on like the stress that he's putting off and giving you because of, a conversation or something like that, you can instead like take a few deep breaths and not let it impact you by focusing more on those other things around you. So, going off of that, we're also going, as we get into the strategies, we want to follow through with what we say we're going to do. That is going to be really key and very hard. It's super hard to like go in with a plan and then you make one mistake and then you kind of just start to feel guilty. So instead, we want to let go of anything that doesn't go as planned, but still trying to go into that season with, okay, what am I really like, be light on your words, right? Not over promising, and choosing what you realistically can do, whether it's for this week or, for ending the year. I think that's why I love this time of year, because I think there's so much you can do right now to set you up for the new year and like go into the new year with a little bit momentum, whether it's just one or two things you're working on. And rather than like wait till the new year and then you're trying to change So many things. Um, okay, so going into the common mistakes and then we'll dive in. So like the common mistakes usually are that all or nothing mentality, kind of like I was getting into of, all right, I'm either gonna eat all the healthy things like veggies and um, protein and staying away from all the desserts. Like I don't want to overindulge, so I'm just not gonna have any at all. Well, that's probably not going to be the most, you're not going to go into very successfully because then by the time you have that third party, you see that cookie there, and then you're just going to probably overindulge. So, all or nothing mentality, feeling guilty for indulging, throwing in the towel when you fail, quote unquote. And this is something we got to remember is that it's inevitable. Like when you look at it, like it's inevitable. You're gonna quote unquote fail or like have not get your workout in, or you're gonna go to bed at like 2 a.m. when you didn't plan to. Like there's gonna be something that inevitably is gonna happen. And when you look at it like that, it's more about, okay, that might happen, but can I get back on track quicker? Like, can I get it back on track that next day or the next action I'm taking? So that's a good like way to look at that. And then too many drinks, that's also another mistake. I will say that was me last year. That's why I said too many white Russians. My family loves white Russians, and we just went crazy. And like, I swear I had so many. I was like, what are we doing? And they're cream, right? It's so thick. Like the worst drink you could like over, yeah. And I definitely was feeling it. It was terrible. So calling myself out on that one. Not moving your body, failing to plan in general, and then a little bit of that weight gain. But I going off of the weight gain, right? That's kind of how, right, we talk about this is how can we not avoid, how do we avoid that weight gain? Remembering that these are um like no matter what, someone didn't gain a bunch of weight just out of one day, right? Like Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's driven by the food behaviors and like habits that you have the other 364 days out of the year, right? So looking at it like really the one day, the 2 days aren't going to derail anything or have that 1 or 2 weight gain isn't really going to um, cause a whole lot. And so um, that's also just something to think about because people sometimes feel that stress of like, I know I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. So like they start stressing about that. And it's like, no, like what are your behaviors outside of that time of year? It's also key. Okay, let's go into the healthy mindset. So we talked about like the common mistakes of the mindset, and now we're going to talk about what's a healthy mindset. And that's going to be viewing these holiday meals as special moments. Let yourself find enjoyment in those foods you normally don't have throughout the year. For example, like Thanksgiving, it's a very, specific dishes that you're having that one day out of the year. Maybe you have it, for days after. That's all right. But um, just remembering that, like, find enjoyment through these foods you maybe aren't normally having. And another key thing is just like I said before, like being present, let going of the guilt if you do have that extra cookie. Um, and again, it's more about what are you doing after. It's like not really much about the day. It's more about like what's after that. Like, do you let yourself get down and then then the next day you're like, well, what's the point anymore? I might as well just finish the rest of this cookie plate, you know? So trying to go, and we'll go into what that looks like, a little bit of mindful eating, but um, trying to let go of that as much as possible and kind of move on. And then reflect on an intention of how you'd like to feel after these parties is also really key. And so one of my favorite ways to do this, and I incorporated this with a previous client, this was 2 years ago now, because she really struggled with holidays, and she we implemented just some gratitude, right? Thanksgiving, of course, for being grateful, but really making sure you're spending time in the morning to think about what you're grateful for. So, family, friends, your job, no matter what it is, how small, having like 5 to 10 minutes in that morning to express gratitude. And then, okay, what is my intention for today? Like, what is one thing I want to do to set myself up for success? How do I want to feel after this day is done? Typically, right, it's I want to feel like joyful, that I like was present with my friends and family. I enjoyed the food, and yeah, just feel satisfied, really, and not like blah, like it was because I, overindulged. Um, so that's a really key thing. That same client expressed feeling really great about not having less stress going home, because right, home can bring a lot of stress and things like that. And she felt really good with planning ahead. And that's what the first strategy is. So, planning ahead for meals and parties. So, she felt so much better knowing that, like, okay, I have a plan in place of like what I'm going to have for breakfast, lunch in this different environment before I have, our pre planned meal of dinner. Um, and that's going to be really key. So, having nutritious meals of what you can control ahead of time and the days after. So whether that is just like the smallest things of you could use that leftover turkey right the day after, making like a little omelet or something like that. But I'm this one is more focusing on that actual day of Thanksgiving or Christmas, yada yada. So high protein meal the morning of is going to be really key to just set your digestion up, your satiety levels, and have that energy, because that way you're not going hangry into that dinner, which is very, very common. You're like, all right, let me just eat like a muffin and like my coffee, and then I'll save all my calories for that big meal. Most people do that, right? Most people like wait because they know they're going to eat so much later. And the hard part with that is just you're probably not gonna feel that great after that meal because there's so many calories in that one sitting. And it's already a big meal regardless. So, so high protein first thing in the morning is gonna be key. Eggs, maybe some bacon, turkey, um, things like that. If you like, cottage cheese, yogurt, those are great options. And then create a holiday plan for the types of food you'll enjoy most, and then stick to that plan. So like if you already know like, okay, there's going to be pie, okay, I'll let myself, like I know I want to have the pie. I know there's going to be cookies, but I'd rather have the pie. Like kind of like pick and choose what you feel like is going to be more satiating and what you really really want. It's also great to have some sort of plan like that in place. And then lastly, follow the meal structure that will leave you feeling energized, and I'll tell you more what that looks like in the second strategy. But those are the biggest pieces. It's going in with some sort of plan. For those that are just hopping on, I would love if we did this in the beginning, I would love if you would put in the chat one challenge that you find staying healthy during the holidays. So whether it's a packed schedule, too many treats, or um, just overindulgence. I would love to hear what you struggle with when it comes to the holidays. You can put that in the chat. All right, so kind of going off of the meal structure when you're actually forming your plate and going in with some sort of plan of what you're going to eat. So, right, Thanksgiving is a little bit easier in the sense of like we kind of know what people are having. So I kind of designed it from that. But and the other like Christmas and things like that, it'll be relatively the same. And this looks like the plate on the right here. So high protein, I think of it like at least 3/4 of your plate, which is a lot, but it's going to be really satiating. And the reason for that is so that by the time you're done with your meal, you are you're like content, you're satisfied, and not just like um still really ravenous. Because sometimes I find, which I used to do in the past, like I'll share, like I would grab a little bit of turkey, a little bit of the green beans, and then like a little bit of everything, but it was like very small. And then I was still like so hungry, so then I would like then I would eat like 5 cookies. Like what? That just that is not what you want to fuel yourself up on. So really making sure you're fueling your plate with 3/4 that protein. I would say a healthy fat of, whether that is an avocado or um like the gravy, and like potato, like gravy could be like a thumb size or 2 thumb sizes, that would be good. And then a fourth of that would be like your roasted veggies, green beans, and then the other fourth would be like a sweet potato or other starchier carb source. So that way you're still getting, fiber and nutrients. And then you gotta have some room for the fun stuff, and that would be after that meal, which, your desserts and sweet treats. Um, Okay, so second strategy, we already kind of touched on this. It's going to be prioritizing that protein and fiber. So, especially on if you are someone that is traveling, I know Ruth said she's traveling, it's going to be hectic. So yeah, it's gonna be super key to have some preparation of some little snacks, having a bigger breakfast, especially if like you're, flying out. That's also really helpful. One, saves you money and that way you don't go to the airport. I found at the airport you'd think there's more options. There's really not. Like I'm kind of not happy with what I find sometimes. Especially when you get like a sandwich, it's like one slice of turkey. I'm like, okay, really? Like and it's like all bread. So again, you can make it work at the airport 100%. Like there's some protein bars, some jerky, trail mix. Those are definitely totally fine. You're kind of fueling up on those healthy fats and keep you full longer. So that's the key with the protein and fiber. So grabbing a palm size is usually a good key to picture of a protein portion. Palm size of your hand and a half, or even two palm sizes. And then a cupped hand of like veggies or your fruit or even the starchier carb. That's a good rule of thumb for that. And then again, your protein sources are going to be like the meats, maybe beans, tofu, and then the fiber rich sources are going to be like your veggies. And a good mantra to go in is like eat the best, leave the rest. Like is one thing I love to think about. Um, like what's actually going to feel like what am I gonna always think about how you want to feel after that meal is really key when you're going into it. And I love that um Kimberly mentioned earlier, like setting your expectations ahead of time is so important. Like think of not even nutrition really or fitness or health, but think of like when you go in for like your career or like a big event, like your presentation or something like that, you're kind of visualizing how it's going to be ahead of time, typically. And that's so helpful. Having some visualization of how the day is going to go, how the meals are going to go, and applying that to this is so key because it gets your mind in the right spot that you want it to be. Because right, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? That's a great thing to think about. These are some recipes. Again, I'll send over um, this presentation so you can actually click on each link. There's these amazing like turkey meatballs with a cranberry balsamic sauce, so good. These are great like snacks you could prepare for the holidays if you have like parties or events. And like one key thing like when it comes to like preparing these foods is if you're going somewhere, like kind of ask if you can bring, can I bring something? And that way you can bring something you actually like and like want to enjoy. That's a, quick little thing to kind of help you out knowing you're going to have something there that you actually really consume and you know what's in it. Cranberry pecan goat cheese sweet potato bites. Oh my gosh, so good. They're like little sweet potato rounds, and then you put some goat cheese on it, pecans and cranberries. There's also egg rolls. Again, kind of the same ingredients, so that way you can make multiple if you really wanted to of all these things. Um, but there's many more, so I'll be sure to send more your way. But these are three that are delicious. And yeah, feel free to share in the chat if there's one thing you always make every year that you're like, this is, would love to share. Any like small dishes, like appetizers you love. That would be awesome. All right, third strategy. So we kind of talked about that nutrition side of things. I want to talk about when it comes to actual movement and workouts. Each individual is different depending on what their routine has been as of lately. So it could be, if you're been consistently working out for a few days out of the week, or if you're someone that is just not really doing much, I think it's still crucial to get movement in. And that the way you can do that is with short focused sessions, which are like higher intensity, maybe body weight movements. And the reason why this is so impactful, I found, is just you're gonna feel one, you're gonna reduce stress, like right, you're gonna have endorphins going. Um, you're gonna probably show up a little bit more positive to those, family get-togethers, support your metabolism, and improve your digestion. So really great to like do a little family walk after dinner. If it's a little chilly out, right, like you can make it short, like even 10 minutes. Like the small duration does make a huge impact on your blood sugar levels. And especially after a big meal like Thanksgiving, I found a lot of times we just sit on the couch, which is fine. But if you can like get a little bit of steps around the room, whatever, that's gonna just help with feeling a little bit better and get things moving. 20-minute, like I said, brisk walk with family and friends are great. Another, like a great recommendation would be actually scheduling and kind of pre-planning, kind of like you pre-plan your meals, pre-plan some 30-minute sessions for at least twice a week, whether that's, this busy week or it's leading up to Christmas, if you have more travel coming or you're out of town, like trying to just get at least 2 of those days with intentional 30-minute workout sessions. Um, Another thing, if that seems like, you have way too much going on, then I would think of more of movement daily and be okay with that. Like just be okay, it's gonna look different. Like your workouts might look a little bit different, you might have access to equipment. So bodyweight movement is still just impactful. And I've talked about this before in other classes in my podcast is 10 squats, right? Like doing 10 squats before, like after you brush your teeth in the morning or before and after, 10 calf raises, like those simple things really just get things moving and help lymphatic drainage, just other things that we don't really think about. So, and then I wanted to include like a little sample workout, so 24 minutes. And this is great because if you guys are familiar, I do have a podcast called the Growth Over Fear podcast, and my latest episode is on effective short duration workouts that are full body. And that's kind of what I would want you to go for around this holiday season is full body sessions that include some lower body and then like an upper body movement and maybe some core. This one, though, in particular, is every minute on the minute. So that just means you're doing an exercise each minute. If you have, so say you do the lunges, 10 each side, and you still have like 30 seconds left on that clock, you rest that time until the next minute starts. So then minute 2, you do push-ups. Again, you could do this on the wall, on the couch, on a chair. Um, or you could obviously sub that out for something else you like a plank hold for 30 seconds. And then you'd rest until the 3rd minute starts. You do squats for 15. Minute 4, you do pogo hops. Those are like jump ropes, like jump rope, imaginary jump rope for 40 seconds. And so then you would have 20 seconds to rest until right minute 5 starts, see what I'm saying? So then you'd keep going. So keep your heart rate up, keep it elevated, and again, short, quick, effective. You're done in 24 minutes. And again, listen to your body. Like obviously, if that's too much, modify things. It's just more about like, can I set the timer for 20 minutes, get some movement in that's intentional, is key. All right, so that's the strategy 3. Strategy 4 is my favorite one, mindful eating. Super key. Again, I know we've all heard it, like probably middle school or when we were younger, but yes, it works. It's crazy how much it really makes a difference to your digestion and just being present with what you're consuming and just being aware of all your senses while you're eating your food. Helps manage your eating habits, and it just helps also remove the stresses that can happen when you're overeating. And people just tend to feel better about their body in general when they're just present, consuming their food. And so this particularly actually was really huge for, again, another client of mine who really struggled with bloating. And we talked about taking 10 deep breaths before, like you have your plate of food, take 10 deep breaths before you dive in, right? Just sit there, and maybe it's only 5 breaths, like something's better than nothing, of intentional diaphragmatic breathing. So breathing through your belly. And after you do that breathing, right, you go into eating your food nice and slow. After her meals, as she's starting to incorporate that consistently, she noticed her bloating was like, and her digestion was so much better. And that's just because you're down regulating. You're not just like, because think of like when you normally eat, right? You're usually busy. All right, the meal's ready. Let's get on the table. And then you just dive in. And I think that's why a lot of times it can be impactful for those families that do like pray or something like that, like say something before the meal that's allowing you to like relax and like tell your body, okay, now it's time to eat. Because if we're in a stress state, your body, the last thing it's going to think about is digesting your food. um, so that's why the slowing down and breathing, it helps kind of put your nervous system more in that rest and digest state. So Kimberly asked, like, what do I mean by being aware of all your senses? So that just means, like, there's different strategies. So when you're thinking about senses, you're thinking about like, okay, what is, and this maybe you're not going to do all of them because right, you're probably around a lot of people and it's going to take some time. But like looking at the colors of the food, looking at how it's, think about how does it smell, how does it taste, yeah, what do you see, not hear, obviously. Or maybe how you hear, like if it's super crunchy or something like that. But it just allows, again, once you incorporate all those senses, you're putting your body back into that rest and digest state. Because you think of like meditation or, something like that, same type of practice, but you're applying it to how you're eating. Um, so yeah, so again, it's easy, right? You can do it anywhere. No one really knows you're doing it. Reduces that stress eating, the gas, the bloating, improves your self-control around those foods, and in turn, which helps also improve your weight loss as well, because you're probably going to be more aware of, am I full or am I still hungry? When you're, tapping into that. So, like I said, use all your senses. That's the biggest one. There's also that hunger or fullness scale. So, I like to use it like a scale out of 8. 8 is actually like for a fullness scale, and 8 is where we don't want to be. Like, actually, not very much. We want to be more at that like 6, 6 out of 8. And 6 is where you feel like satisfied. You feel, yeah, you just feel fulfilled. Like you're like, okay, I feel good. I'm like, don't need any more, and that's that sweet spot. Typically, I would say the most general population, we're more of around that 7 or usually 8. Because right, like that's the feeling we're kind of used to or think like we always need to be at, where you're like overly full and you're like, okay, like I'm good. So it's trying to get a little bit less than that, where you just like you could almost start eating more, but like you don't need to. Um, and we never want to be really on that like one like hangry scale. So using a scale can be helpful. Putting your fork down in between bites, that's also a nice simple one to do as well. Like just taking time to put that down and slow down. That just helps you slow down. And then ask yourself why, like, just being intentional of how you're feeling. And what I mean by why is like if you're, done eating and like you're gonna go grab seconds or grab something, um, like, okay, do I really want this? Or like am I just um, am I just like talking with someone, I'm just mindlessly eating this? So kind of just stopping yourself and like being, intentional. Am I just bored? Am I stressed right now? Um, it's just kind of being mindful of how you emotionally feel. Taking 10 deep breaths before taking a bite. I already mentioned that. And then this is actually one that I am trying to actually do. This is one I'm working on and practicing more, is chewing 20 to 30 times before swallowing. I don't know, it's kind of fun because like you don't really think about how many times you're chewing something. And yeah, so that's one that I find just helps you, one, break down your food, but then also slow down and not just scarf your face. Especially like for someone like me in the evening, it's usually like I'm eating a later meal and I want to just like, I'm super hungry, but like slowing down like that can really just help so much. Removing distractions. Um, So that could be like write your phone, or which is again really hard thing to do to not have so much going on at once. And that's maybe inevitable, but I think you can, spend time just being more intentional of not being on the phone, or it's just being more mindful of who you're around and having those conversations as well. And again, visualization. So visualize how you might feel after a meal. It can also, practice that mindfulness piece. Yeah, Kimberly said that they used to make us do that as kids, choose 30 to 50 times. 30 to 50. See, maybe I should do that. That's even better. Um, but yeah, super. So those are those techniques for mindful eating. I think that's going to be the biggest strategy, probably, especially around Thanksgiving, Christmas also, because I'm sure, right, bigger meals as well. Um, but it's just something that you can doesn't take much effort to think about, and it's just remembering, okay, like how once I have my plate, how can I be mindful here? Like, is it just putting my fork down? Is it just really slowing down how I'm chewing? Those types of things. It's just going to help you not go overindulge, essentially. And then lastly, hydration. I got to talk about hydration. Again, going to help digestion. It also reduces that unnecessary snacking, and again helps manage your energy levels. Like a lot of times when you're hungry, um, most of the, sometimes I'll say is you're actually just dehydrated. So if you notice like you just ate and like you still feel hungry, I would try just having like 10 sips of water and like see how you feel after, because sometimes it is the dehydration. Um, so good key thing you could do is, this week, like Thursday morning, is having at least 12 ounces right away in the morning. And then you have your coffee, just starting your day with a good amount of water and shooting for, I would say at least like 40 to 60 ounces a day at minimum. And if you're like on that lower end, that's okay. I think it's just more about like, okay, can I just, when I go into my Thanksgiving get together or like my holidays, can I have a glass of water every time, I grab a drink or something like that? Um, and then another key thing when it comes to hydration is we want to be mindful of, right, the alcohol and the sugary drinks that may be around. Um, this is more, if you guys missed this, I was talking about how I had too many white Russians last year. And so this is more of a call for me is setting a limit or at least a boundary, like, and it doesn't need to be like rigid by any means. It's more of like, what does that mean for you? Like, can you just set that intention of, all right, I want to stick around 2 to 3, and then that's when I check in and be like, am I mindful? Like, how do I feel right now? Am I good? Like, can I, chill out? That type of thing. So, setting some sort of intention behind those drinks, if you are a drinker, that would be key per event you're going to, or just going for those lower calorie options. Like a lot of times, I find we can really ride the buzz, as they say. So, like sipping on those drinks and really slowing down, and just enjoying it. And like that can sometimes just be enough, just like that. Because again, it's about the memories and who you're around and the environment. Um, Also, drinking 1 glass of water per alcoholic drink you're having or alternating. Again, just having yourself feel good that next morning and even later in that day too, because if you're starting early or whatnot, that can also lead to more snacking, right? If you're not staying hydrated. Another key thing though is like making some fun mocktails. Like there's so many, like Pinterest has so many mocktails you can look up that are super tasty, especially around the holiday season. I remember seeing a lot of those. I think there was one year I did like apple cider, um, they weren't mimosas, but they were like bubbly. And I used to use like bubble water. I don't know. It was super good. I'll try and find it if someone's interested in that. But um, yeah, making some fun drinks like that can be really fun too. So those are the 5 strategies, and I want to have each of you set some realistic goals for yourself. This is just a list like of some ideas. But I would love for one of the best things I think you can do is just stay accountable with tracking some daily things you can do, like daily habits, and choosing 2 to 3 of those. So I call it the top three. So this is something you can apply to any day of your life. Is just top three. What are my top three today? That I'm doing to take care of myself, both mentally, physically, emotionally. And for myself, going into the holidays, mine's sleep, protein, steps. Like that, I know I'm like, I can hit, and wherever I am, like that's going to be key. So I'd love to know what yours is. So if you don't mind putting in the chat, if there's like 1 or 2 things that come to mind that you know you can realistically commit to. Um, this could be, like I said, daily movement. It could be bringing your own meal to the event. It could be just, focusing on getting veggies on your plate. Like those simple things, like will have you feeling so good and accomplished for like at least going into the holidays with a plan, right? Like some sort of expectation for yourself. And knowing you followed through with that is going to feel so good. And let go of judgment. So that could also be one, like just being like, I'm going to enjoy myself, and if I have like a little bit too many desserts, at least I, got my water in or whatever it is. Um, um Stick to my schedule as much as possible before and after. I love that. Yeah, so like trying to like like I was talking before, like what you're doing prior to the holiday season, or like holiday, like Thursday, and then around Christmas, like what you're doing before and after is super key. Like the more you can get back on track, the more you can be like, okay, I'm setting myself for up for success Wednesday of nutritious meals and then a high protein breakfast. And then Friday, I'm like using the leftovers to make great meals. Um, that's gonna have you feeling so good. Julie said move every day, moderation and eating, drinking. Yes, sleep. Sleep is one I did not talk about. It was really hard. I was gonna have that be, if there was a sixth one, that was gonna be it, because sleep is the foundation to have you regulating your hunger hormones. Kimberly said move my body more, especially those, yes, more protein and water in the morning before any events. Yes. So again, those simple things are going to just set you up for so much success with knowing, again, you didn't just like skip the meal because you know it's going to be a huger meal later. Um, Other ones I put on here is enjoy desserts in moderation, stay accountable, like I said, with tracking daily habits. Check in with a friend, family member, or even like myself. I love keeping people accountable with these things because it's so important to just have some sort of way to like keep those promises, right? Like some sort of, it's on notes on your phone. If it's, telling your husband or partner, these are 2 things I want to keep in mind. That can be really impactful. So I have 2 little bonuses here. So I will share this with you guys in an email as well. And this is a weekly meal planner. So I think this, let me pull up here. Sorry, 1 second. A daily journal and then a daily meal planner, or weekly meal planner, daily journal. So if you are someone that has like a nice tablet, or you could print these off. 1 second, you probably can't see my screen. Did you? Okay, bear with me. Okay, so this is the weekly meal planner. So this is something you could continuously use, but again, just something that keeps you accountable with the meals you're having, or if it's just like little, it doesn't even be like super structured by any means, but I think just the act of like, all right, I know, Thursday morning, this is my plan for breakfast, Friday. It doesn't even be every single meal if that overwhelms you, but it's like just having some sort of idea of what you could put in place around the holidays and even after that. So this is something I'll share over with you. And then the other one is the daily journal. All right. Can you see this one? Okay. Oh my gosh, that is ginormous. Okay, so we have again, this goes back to mindfulness. So like Thursday morning, waking up like the holiday morning of what do I appreciate today? What is my water intake, like roughly my goal for that? Your inner weather. So how are you feeling overall? If you're like partly cloudy, maybe there's some thunderstorms. Or, and you can kind of that whatever that means to you, that weather, I think it's a cute little way to check in with yourself mentally. And then again, going off of like that food journal, just some sort of, you could probably just use this if you want to look more at that day of what you're going to have. And then an affirmation for yourself to say for that day. So this is a fun journal print out you could have for even down the line as well, and not just around the holiday season. But I think if you're someone that, again, just wants to reduce that stress, have a little bit more structure and intention behind this season, those are two key things you can utilize. So I'll share those over. And then, does anyone, yeah, I would love to know, do you guys use a meal planner right now? Like, is there something you use um, or just on your phone, or, I'm thinking like grocery list, things like that. I feel like I just use my phone, like my notes app, or like a whiteboard. Ooh, nice. Nice, Kimberly. Day planner. Oh, yeah, yeah. I love all the planners. The more things we can like, again, the more you can manage your progress, um, the better. All right. So we talked about, is there any questions that anyone has? Any other like, um, yeah, questions, concerns, comments about just the holiday season in general and things that you have questions on when it comes to nutrition or fitness? Oh yeah. So Kimberly said I usually put what I did eat, not plan it out, so this would be better to incorporate. I think that's great though too, to also like keeping track of like what you did eat, um, but having a little bit more structure and planning that would also help you um, be more intentional there. All right. So just something to leave off here is just setting, after all the strategies we talked about, I would love for you guys to think about setting those boundaries and realistic expectations for yourself. That's kind of what we all talked about, and being okay with that. Like being okay with um, controlling the controllables that you can go into the season with and what that means for you. So, because ultimately, right, it's your health, it's your mindset, it's your body, and like it's okay to be, being like, all right, I want to take like 5 minutes. I gotta, want to get some fresh air, like get some steps in. Like that's okay to do those things. Because you'll be right back. Like I think sometimes it's hard to do that when you are around company or around family. And so it's great to also include them as well. If it's like looking like a daily movement thing, or maybe it's making a healthier dish, like having them help out. Um, yeah, people, family and friends love to do that. And then also remembering that special occasions are going to continue to come and go, but the good health lasts forever. So again, remembering it's only a few days out of this whole year, and it's more about what are you doing long term those other days out of this year going into the new year. And these are some strategies to help you set yourself up. So like you said, pick your top, if it's like Kimberly said, move her body more, protein, water. Kimberly said move, sleep, and moderation in drinking. Like continuing those throughout the season into the end of the year are great things to continue. And that's the great part of it, is like you can continue to practice the habits during this busy time, so that way it's a little bit easier, and when it's a little bit slower in your life. So I hope that was super impactful for you. I hope you found some value in this. I will send this recording out. I will send the presentation and some recipes, so that way you can have it all. The last thing I was just going to share is my contact information and then my little holiday special when it comes to my online coaching program. And so if you or yourself or anyone's interested, this is an offering I'm having right now until the end of the year. what I offer is one-on-one coaching, and I do 3, 6, or 12-month program options. And I'm doing 10, as you can see, 10% off to 15% off those commitment levels. And that includes nutrition coaching, fitness coaching, and health coaching. So really great for someone that is looking to create lasting healthy habits. So having a little bit more structure and discipline around their daily routines, wanting to build confidence in themselves and their dreams, and also just build strength when it comes to their physical health as well. So I'll leave you with that. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I'm so glad you guys can make it. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with. But again, thanks for joining. Yay! Look at that, 11 minutes to spare. Right on time. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and yeah, I hope to see you soon. So grateful for you guys too. Okay, bye.